I had a series of visions when I was younger. And after each one ended, the same thought would be stuck in my head.
What did you see?
I saw a nun.
What happens when the holiest place on earth becomes a gateway to hell? In The Nun, faith is tested, darkness rises, and a terrifying secret buried for centuries claws its way back into the light. If you're into chilling recaps and twisted tales from the Conjuring Universe, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and ring that bell so you never miss what's lurking in the shadows. In 1952, Romania, deep within the forest, lies the isolated St. Carta Monastery, home to a group of cloistered nuns. One day, two Roman Catholic nuns, Sister Jessica and Sister Victoria, approach a sealed, ancient door marked with the ominous inscription, "God ends here." Despite the chilling warning, Sister Jessica insists they have no other choice but to enter. Whatever lies beyond the door has awakened. As Jessica steps into the darkness, Sister Victoria remains outside, clutching her rosary and praying fervently for her companion's safety. But within moments, Jessica is attacked by an unseen force, something violent and unholy. As she's dragged into the shadows, she cries out to Victoria, warning her it needs a human vessel. Realizing that possession is its escape route, Sister Victoria makes a heart-wrenching decision. To prevent the evil from reaching the outside world, she takes her own life, hanging herself from the abbey window in a desperate act of sacrifice. Time passes before anyone discovers what truly happened inside those walls. The grim truth surfaces when a local delivery man, nicknamed Frenchie, arrives to drop off supplies. To his horror, he finds Sister Victoria's lifeless body still hanging, partially decayed, yet disturbingly preserved. Alarmed by the incident, the Vatican is quick to respond. They dispatch Father Burke, a priest with experience in investigating supernatural occurrences, to look into the case and determine whether the abbey remains sacred ground. For this urgent mission, the church assigns Sister Irene, a young novitiate from London, to accompany him. They claim she has knowledge of the region, but when Father Burke meets her, she admits she's never been to Romania. Still, Burke believes that the church operates through divine will. Trusting that their paths were meant to cross, he chooses to bring her along. Together, they journey to St. Carta, unaware that something ancient and malevolent has already begun to stir beneath the monastery. Together, they travel to the nearby village of Beatan to meet with Frenchie, the man who discovered Sister Victoria's body. At first hesitant, Frenchie eventually agrees to guide them to the remote and eerie St. Carta Abbey. Once there, he takes Father Burke and Sister Irene to a small icebox where he had carefully placed Sister Victoria's corpse after the discovery. But when he opens the door, something is wrong, terribly wrong. The body is no longer lying flat. Instead, it's sitting upright, lifeless eyes seemingly staring into the void. Startled, Frenchie is shaken by the sight, but Father Burke stays calm. He examines the corpse closely and finds something gripped tightly in Victoria's hand, a mysterious key. Without knowing its purpose, Burke takes the key. Afterward, they give the nun a proper burial on consecrated ground. With dusk falling, the trio makes their way to the abbey. There, they're met by the abbess, cloaked in black, her face hidden in shadow. When asked why they've come, Father Burke explains that the Vatican has sent them to investigate Sister Victoria's death and to determine if the abbey is still hallowed ground. But the abbess tells them they'll have to wait until the next day to speak with the other nuns. The sisters are preparing for evening vespers, followed by the Great Silence, a vow of silence that lasts until the next morning. With no other choice, Burke and Irene agree to stay the night and are given temporary lodgings within the convent. Before leaving, Father Burke tells Frenchie to head home and that they likely won't need him again for a couple of days. However, as Frenchie makes his way back through the woods, he notices something chilling, a nun silent and pale dragging a rope behind her. Concerned, he follows her deeper into the forest. But what he finds isn't a nun, it's something else entirely. The demonic entity attacks, revealing its terrifying face. Frenchie barely escapes with his life, stumbling away into the night. Back at the convent, Burke and Irene sit down for a quiet dinner. As they eat, they begin to open up about their pasts. Irene shares that she used to have visions as a child. Though the details always changed, one thing remained the same: Mary points the way. Father Burke is visibly moved. He recalls a similar experience, one that still haunts him. During World War II, he was stationed in France and asked to perform an exorcism on a young boy named Daniel. The child claimed he was seeing visions, but Burke quickly realized the truth: Daniel was possessed. Though Burke managed to complete the exorcism, the damage had already been done. Daniel suffered severe injuries and died days later. That failure and the boy's lifeless face still lingers in Burke's memories. Later that night, while Father Burke and Sister Irene are asleep in their lodgings, the silence is broken by an old radio. It mysteriously switches on by itself, crackling with eerie, distorted music. Awakened by the unsettling sound, Burke rises to investigate. He hears soft footsteps echoing outside and spots a shadowy figure darting past the window. Cautiously, he follows it into the darkness only to come face to face with a ghostly vision of Daniel, the boy from his haunted past. Daniel turns toward him, face pale and eyes hollow. Without warning, he vomits a snake, which slithers away into the night. Compelled, Burke follows the serpent, which leads him straight to an open grave. Before he can react, the ground gives way beneath him, and he falls inside, the loose soil collapsing above, trapping him underground. Buried alive, panic sets in. But just before fear overwhelms him, Burke remembers something earlier. Someone had mentioned a bell system used during the plague, bells tied to coffins, in case the dead weren't truly dead. Grasping for hope, Burke rings the bell attached to his grave, desperately signaling for help. Back at the convent, Sister Irene hears the faint ringing echoing through the cemetery. As she rushes to the graveyard, more bells begin to sound, too many, making it difficult to tell where Burke is buried. Still, she follows her instincts, homes in on the right grave, and begins digging frantically. Finally, she manages to uncover him and pull him to safety. Inside the tomb, Burke had found several ancient books, possibly left by those who once fought the evil within the abbey. He takes them, hoping they hold the answers they need. The next morning, they return to the abbey, but this time, only Sister Irene is allowed to enter. Before she goes in, Burke gives her the key he retrieved from Sister Victoria's hand. While Irene ventures into the dark halls of the abbey, Father Burke remains outside, poring over the texts. His reading leads him to a name that chills him to the core: Valak the Defiler, the Profane, the Marquis of Snakes. Inside, Irene enters the chapel and spots a nun deep in prayer. She approaches, trying to speak, but before she can make contact, she's pulled aside by another nun, Sister Oana. Oana explains something horrifying. The nuns must pray without ceasing, passing the task between them like a sacred relay. This constant prayer is the only thing keeping the evil at bay. She leads Irene to a quiet chamber and begins to unravel the dark history of the abbey. During the Dark Ages, the Duke of St. Carter, obsessed with the occult, constructed the abbey to conduct unholy rituals and study witchcraft. Eventually, he succeeded in opening a rift, a gateway that allowed a demonic force to slip into the world. But before the evil could spread, the church intervened, killing the Duke and sealing the gateway using a sacred relic, a vial containing the actual blood of Jesus Christ. After reclaiming the abbey, the church assigned an order of nuns to pray continuously, maintaining the seal and suppressing the evil within, and it worked for centuries. But during World War II, the abbey was bombed. The blast shook the foundation, cracking the seal and reawakening the darkness that had slumbered beneath the stone. Now, with the evil rising once again, and the prayers growing weaker, the entity known as Valak is clawing its way back into the world. Their conversation is suddenly cut short when Sister Abigail enters, her tone urgent. She informs Irene that she must leave the abbey immediately. But the gates have already been sealed for the night. There's no way out until morning. Sister Oana quietly tells Irene that she'll have to stay. Meanwhile, outside the abbey walls, Father Burke searches for another way inside. As he wanders the grounds, he is confronted once again by the mysterious abbess. Her face shrouded in shadows, she watches him silently. Burke demands answers, specifically about the key he found with Sister Victoria's corpse. The abbess doesn't respond directly. Instead, she speaks in a chilling tone. It's too late. Sister Irene is already lost. Suddenly, her body goes limp, collapsing forward. Alarmed, Burke steps closer and lifts her veil only to recoil in horror. Her face is no longer human. Twisted and grotesque, her demonic form lashes out, grabbing his arm with unnatural strength. Burke struggles to break free, and in a final, desperate move, he tears her arm clean off. She screeches and vanishes into thin air, leaving Burke gasping for breath. At the same time, inside the convent, Sister Irene is jolted awake, sweat pouring down her face. A nightmare still lingers, but reality quickly proves to be worse. Across the room sits a familiar figure, Sister Victoria, staring at her with lifeless eyes. The vision flickers. Victoria's image vanishes and reappears behind Irene, who spins in terror just as the apparition leaps out the window. Then, a whisper. Victoria's voice calls to Irene, echoing down the dark hallways. Compelled, Irene follows, eventually arriving at a familiar door, the same one Sister Jessica had approached earlier. Drawn by something unseen, Irene steps inside and comes face to face with Valak, the demonic nun. Valak advances, slow and menacing. Irene turns to flee, her breath quick and shallow, only to be grabbed by Sister Oana, who pulls her to safety. Come, we must get to the chapel, she urges. There, constant prayer is their only hope of surviving the night. Elsewhere on the grounds, Father Burke isn't safe either. He too is attacked by Valak, ambushed in the shadows. Just as things take a deadly turn, Frenchie bursts onto the scene, wielding a shotgun. He fires and the demon retreats, giving Burke a chance to escape. Back in the chapel, Irene arrives, expecting to see Sister Oana, Instead, Sister Abigail is there, praying fervently while Owen's lifeless body lies nearby, her face frozen in fear. One by one, other nuns appear, joining Irene in desperate prayer. But Valak doesn't relent. The demon throws the nuns across the chapel like rag dolls, their bodies crashing against walls. As Irene continues praying, the entity descends upon her, burning a pentagram into her back, a mark of unholy power. Finally, Burke and Frenchie arrive at the chapel doors. Irene rushes to unlock them and let them in. But when she turns back, everyone is gone. The room is empty. There were no nuns. No Sister Abigail, no Anna. They were all visions, created by the demon to manipulate and torment her. Now it's clear the abbey is no longer hallowed ground. Its sanctity has been corrupted beyond repair. The pieces begin to fall into place. Sister Victoria didn't take her own life out of despair, she sacrificed herself. By jumping to her death, she ensured that Valak couldn't possess her body and escape the abbey. Though their mission was to investigate, the truth is bigger than any report to the Vatican. This is now a battle against evil itself, and Sister Irene is determined to stay and seal the demon away, no matter the cost. With the truth revealed and the stakes higher than ever, the trio resolves to retrieve the relic containing the blood of Christ, their only weapon capable of defeating Valak. Irene believes it lies hidden deep in the tunnels beneath the abbey, dangerously close to the gateway to hell itself. But before they go further, Irene makes a profound decision. She turns to Father Burke and says she wishes to take her vows. Her visions, once a mystery, now feel like a divine calling. She's ready to fully dedicate herself to her faith. In the dim torchlight of the ancient corridors, Father Burke performs the sacred rite, and Sister Irene officially becomes a nun. With renewed purpose, they descend into the catacombs, a place steeped in shadow and silence. As they navigate the twisting stone passages, Burke finally realizes the meaning of Irene's repeated phrase, "Mary points the way." There, in the darkness, they find a statue of the Virgin Mary, her finger extended, pointing toward a hidden passage. Irene uses the key she found with Sister Victoria to unlock the chamber, and inside lies the vial containing the blood of Christ, glowing faintly, pulsing with sacred energy. But they aren't alone for long. Valak strikes again. The demon attacks with renewed fury, scattering the group. Irene becomes possessed, her body turned into a vessel of evil, and she nearly kills Frenchie. But just as she raises her hand to finish him off, Frenchie reaches for the vial, smearing the blood of Christ across Irene's face. The holy relic forces Valak out, screaming in rage. In retaliation, the demon knocks Frenchie unconscious, sending Irene flying into the walls of the chamber. Burke is paralyzed by a hallucination, Daniel vomiting snakes, one of which lunges at him and sinks its fangs into his eye. All seems lost. Valak corners Irene and drowns her in a pool of water at the foot of the gateway. She struggles, then goes limp. But then she resurfaces, gasping for breath, and spits the blood of Christ directly into Valak's face. The reaction is instant and explosive. The demon howls, the room trembles, and Valak is dragged back into the void, the gateway to hell sealed once more. Irene collapses. Frenchie Maurice, as we now learn, rushes to her side, reviving her with mouth to mouth. She coughs, breathes, and asks his real name. He smiles and answers, Maurice. With Valak defeated for now, the trio makes their way out of the abbey. But as they leave, a sinister sign reveals itself. An upside-down crucifix slowly forms on Maurice's neck. Something evil still lingers. The story then jumps 20 years into the future, to a seminar in Wakefield, Massachusetts, where two familiar faces, Ed and Lorraine Warren, are presenting a case. They play footage of a man being exorcised. His name, Maurice. Valak had possessed him the night they thought they'd won. This becomes the Warrens' first documented encounter with the demon nun, a case that would later unfold in The Conjuring, proving one thing: evil never truly dies. And that's the chilling tale of the nun. If you enjoyed this recap, make sure to like, subscribe, and drop a comment with your favorite moment or your ranking in The Conjuring Universe. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.